I feel like hitting other people's
I've got an
kids
Arizona
should be-
territorial law that'll back up everything.
I feel like hitting other people's. I feel like hitting other people's kids should be allowed because I see a lot of kids that my friends have that are really poorly behaved and they don't hit them. I feel like they should be hit more often. I should be able to step in on that.
Yeah, you should be able to give them a little thump in the forehead.
Yeah, even just like just a backhand slap. Like I'm not going to punch them.
Sure. I mean, it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Exactly. A village of violent men.
To raise a terrified child. Who
then goes on to terrify his children.
So is John Jones.
Did you hit your kids, Woody?
No, I didn't. My wife would give him the soap, and she has regrets about that level of corporal punishment, but I think she was right. There was a time, dude, I've told this story like 4 times. My daughter Hope was maybe 8 or something like that, 10, I don't know. And she was yelling at my wife, just yelling, like in your face, screaming, no holding back. And Jackie's like, you're going to get the soap. This is something she threatened but never followed through on her whole life up to this point. And I love this. So Hope is undeterred. She knows this is a baseless threat, right? This isn't going anywhere. And she's screaming at Jackie. They're in like the downstairs half bath. And Jackie has this like liquid soap. And she puts it on her hand and she's like, you're going to get the soap if you keep it up. And Hope is right inches from her face, like, just screaming, I don't know what. And like a ninja, Jackie comes in, whoosh, right? Coats her tongue with liquid soap. Hope keeps yelling and she blows bubbles. If Jackie were here, she'd be like, yeah, that was a parenting mistake. But I don't agree. I think she was right on the money.
I think that was necessary.
I had many beatings as a child. I felt,
dude, you could set a clock by how often I got spanked as a kid.
my dad got my brother with a really good one once. He's like, my twin brother kept saying shit, and he's like, don't say that word. And he's like, why not? It's just shit. And he's like, if you do that, I'll put shit in your mouth. And he's like, shit, like saying it. We're pretty young. He's probably about 8 years old as well. And my dad got up and left the room, and we were just like, oh, he's not going. He's going to pee or something like that. And he comes back and he has this like brown on his hand, and it looks like shit. And he comes in and he just like grabs the back of his head and just like smears it all in his mouth. And my brother freaked the fuck out. But it turned out to be Nutella. But my brother fucking freaked because he told him it was going to be shit. It looks like fucking shit. His face is covered in shit. He didn't swear.
He didn't swear anymore. He's got Nutella over his face. He's like, oh, the fiddlesticks.
It was very funny. Yeah, he got him.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if you should beat children or not, though. It's hard to say. I think it depends on the child. Some kids just seem so shitty. You know, they piss you off. You got to take that rage out somewhere.
It depends on the kid, I think,
and the parent. Like, so you guys are like, what did you ever hit kids? No, but like, I swear, I could just be disappointed. I could bring them to tears if I ever wanted to. You know, I didn't need to hit them to get their full attention. And some kids will respond like that, and some kids they don't respond unless you get physical.
Yeah, I wasn't scared. You had
Kyle might have needed a little ruler on his bottom or something.
A ruler?
Get the fucking belt. It depended who. But my mom was too weak to really corral me, so she had more of a like an attack that she would do. Like she'd come at me. Oh, I don't know. You know, I don't know, 5 to 20. Somewhere in there.
20.
You're still gonna hit my mom at 20.
No, probably to like 12 or 13 or something. I remember the last time she whipped my ass. She tackled me to the ground and beat me up. I was like maybe 12, and it was ridiculous. And after that, I decided I wasn't gonna let that happen again. I was gonna get a low base, you know, and keep her at range. You know?
Low center of gravity. Yeah.
Jab.
Work on your spacing.
You know? Jabbing and circling.
There's this family lore in the Woodworth household of my father. He used to get hit by his mom all the time. And when my dad was like 12 or so, he held both his mom's wrists, my grandmother, and said, listen, the you hitting me days are over. We're going to have to start talking things out. And it worked. And then my brother, knowing that story, inspired by it, that same thing happened. Held my mom's wrists. Hey, the you hitting me days are over. You know, we're going to have to start talking going forward. And it happened. So Woody, who didn't hit puberty until he was 33, held his mother's wrists. And I'm like, hey, the you hitting me days is over. And she's like, what?
Unleashed a combo.
So began the worst
up, down, left, right, left, right.
So began the worst beating of my life.
Oh, that's so funny.
No, my mom would attack me, so she'd be swinging a belt or a clothes hanger or something like that. Maybe throwing that if I like sparked it off, like we'd go back and forth, and I'd really punctuate something with a mean word or something, and she'd fling a shoe at me or something. But it was usually in a full-on assault.
The lechonka.
Because I would run from her.
Yeah.
But Dad would either capture me or he'd be like, "Get over here!" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just like he's so fucking scary." You better get over here.
He was Sub-Zero.
It's gonna be worse if you make me run.
Scorpion.
You know I hate running.
That's so funny. You're right. When Dad yelled, it was like I would get a sinking feeling in my stomach, like, oh no, I know what's coming.
I shot the window out of his truck one time. I was like 4 or 5. And he starts chasing
with
me,
a gun?
and I start running, and he was working on the truck, BB gun, and shoot the side window out, and he chased me, and they had a water bed, and it had this crawl space and like back behind it, and I got under there, and he was like reaching so like something out of Lord of the Rings, like like trying to pull me out of there, and I'm back. You know, I'm 4 or 5. I'm like down in this little crevice, like
dragon can't fit in this case.
I don't remember. I don't think I got a whipping for that. I think he like cooled off enough while I was in there to be like, why the fuck did I give a 4-year-old a beat?
He's like, you know what? Part of this is on me.
Yeah.
Explain that. How did you shoot at a truck window? Were you shooting at the truck window?
I shot it. Yeah.
Bad decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I remember distinctly.
Like
I was standing. No, I was standing in the front yard. We had a big sand box. We had a big like oval shaped sandbox that we'd play in, a big oak tree in it. And then on the other side of that, like our yard was asphalt with a big like circle drive, and he was working under the hood of his truck over there, and I was standing over here, and I looked and saw his, and I just shot the window out on purpose right next to him while he was working on it, 100% on purpose.
Bad decision making.
4-year-old, you know, it's just like, oop, like you're not even thinking, you just do it.
I didn't know it would have broken. How could I?
I mean, that was probably part of it. I probably shot it before or something like
What's
that.
What's the subreddit called? Oh no, consequences.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then I hit my my half sister. I cracked her skull open one time when I was also like 4 or 5. Yeah, I wasn't
literally a broken skull.
No, split the skin open on her head, requiring stitches. I hit her in the head with one of those old timey like carpenter's levels, the ones that are wooden with steel corners and stuff like that. Not that like plastic shit that everybody sells now. Big heavy fucker. I hit her right in the top of the head, like me swinging overhand with both hands.
What's the age difference again? She has a few years.
I was like
right?
4 and she was probably 14, something like that. Like maybe 12, maybe 4 and 12. That sounds closer.
That's a pretty big gap. Yeah.
In college, one of my swim teammates had his skull cracked open. One of our friends was like a really large, like black guy with dreadlocks. And the swimmer thought it would be funny in a dorm room. It's a steel door. It's like an external door, even though it's a dorm room, like a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he thought it'd be funny to crack the door open and go, hello, like he didn't know who was outside. And the guy who was outside thought it would be funny to kick the door open like a policeman and have it swing. These were not coordinated jokes.
Yeah.
So his head was like 2 inches from the door. And when he kicked it, he cracked his skull. And I saw the x-rays. It was literally a broken skull. And
God,
bad headaches for a while.
How were his grades?
They were
they
were never good, but
they went for bad and stayed right there.
Didn't negatively impact him. Yeah, I accidentally
greenhouse.
Now I didn't break my brother's skull, but I did hit. We were having a pillow fight, and I hit him. I I borderline took him off his feet with a pillow swing. It was such a heavy swing at him, and it knocked him right into a fireplace. And he needed a bunch of stitches up here. And I remember like we were at a friend's house too. And so like there was blood running down his face, and he was like, because he was freaking out.
Oh,
I was already in my head like, all right, how do we frame this for Dad? Like, because
how do we make this more palatable for?
We're only a year and a half or so apart, that brother and I, and so it wasn't like a wild amount of bullying. It was just, I've said it before, like I was very large for my age, and he was not.
Yeah, I cracked my other sister too. Like when I was like 5, I was out in the sandbox. I mentioned I had a hoe, and I was
your sister,
like, yeah. I had a garden implement, and I was digging in the sand. And every time I dig and like remove a little sand, she would lean into the hole and like add some with her plastic shovel, which is infuriating, 4 or 5-year-old me to no end. And I gave her a couple of warnings, and then somehow she got hit in the head with the hoe.
Yeah,
and,
who's to say?
Who's to say? Cracked her like her eyebrow open, like cut her open there. We got my sandcastle made. Let's just say
Does she have a permanent scar?
Eyebrow covers it.
Okay. Yeah.
Adds character.
It adds character.
We mostly had a rule about like, or I guess it mostly came down to me because I was the biggest and the oldest, but like I never used weapons. And when I would hurt my brothers, it was always an accident. Aside from one incident where I did tie my younger brother up, put him in a wagon at the top of a hill, pushed him down the hill, and he ran into a tree and bounced his head off that tree a little bit, like a minor.
Tell me this, because I see this in the movies. Is there when something like that happens? Is there a big like initial effort for you and maybe the brother that's closest to you to be like, you're not hurt, ha 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 ha, don't cry.
Yeah, it's literally Reservoir Dogs. I'm like, you're gonna be okay. Say the word with me. Say the word. You're not dying in the back of this car. You're not dying in the back. Yeah. Well, that one was especially bad because, and I know I told this years ago, so I'll keep it quick. Those play school wagons, like those like big plastic wagons that you would in like the 90s see a woman like pulling young kids in, not like a stroller or a tram for the Brits and Australians.
Not a red flyer either.
I don't remember
radio.
I don't remember what I even tied him up with, but it wasn't even a good tie job. He could have escaped if he had a little gumption. And I wrapped him up in it, and then I put him in this, and I was like, we had a very steep hill. Like people would come from around the neighborhood, like neighborhood friends, to use our hill for sledding because it was so steep. And there was one giant willow tree in the back. And I was holding him up. The only thing that was keeping him from flying down this hill was me holding it. And my dad was up on the patio behind us, and he goes, "Taylor, don't you let that go!" and I wanted to see what happened, and so I let it go anyway. And like as soon as I did, because it should have just anywhere else in the yard, it could have come to a gentle rest,
dude,
like of its own volition. But he just went pop, 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 slammed into the tree. He bounced out of it like a crash test dummy, smacked his face and head on the willow tree bark. Jesus. And my dad came down there and he gave me what for. That was
Did he steer
so
it into
scary.
The tree, or was he just a passenger?
He was just bound to a chair.
He was bound to it, and so
wagon.
he had no control to the wagon. And so I didn't try to drop him into the tree. I just didn't plan. I remember seeing him go down and being like, "Don't hit the tree! Don't hit the tree! Dad's gonna if he hits the tree, then Dad had a point this whole time."
Like a guided missile.
Like a guided missile smashed into that tree.
And then also when I was like definitely 4. My dad was shooting sporting clays with his buddy. His buddy was deputy sheriff, and I'm trying to get his attention. Apparently, I'm like, hey, and nobody's talking to me because the 2 grown men are talking. And I found the biggest rock that I could pick up. I'm 4, but must have been pretty big because apparently I smashed it down on his friend's foot and broke his foot, and he had to take time off from being a sheriff's deputy for like. So broke his fucking foot with a rock. That's my favorite story. That and
the dude
like
needs milk.
Yeah, I love his bad bones was clearly the cause of all that, not the delinquent child.
Well, you were a strong 4-year-old picking up big stones.
Perhaps so.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm trying to remember any other silliness I engaged in that like actually resulted in someone being hurt. I pulled both of my friend's arms out of his shoulder sockets.
Jesus
on
Christ!
accident.
Were you swinging him?
I was swinging him.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, he wanted to do it. Swung around. Everyone else had a good time. Had strong shoulder ligaments, and like I thought everyone was having a blast. Then he gets hurt. It may have only been one shoulder. I think he was being dramatic.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, he was whining the whole time afterward when it was like, Alex, come on, let's just play Pokemon Red, make a couple trades, forget this whole thing happened. But what do you think about
sour mood?